Welcome to Neoscience Hub. BrahMos is a supersonic missile which can operate at high speed, and with this in our arsenal, we can boast of having a missile that is capable of carrying a nuclear warhead and striking off target with accuracy. In an exclusive interview with Neoscience Hub, Dr. K.V. Govindarajan, scientist, BrahMos Aerospace, speaks about the power of BrahMos. Hello, welcome to Neoscience Hub.
Hi.
Can you speak about the latest projects at DRDO and your contribution towards it?
DRDO is a very big organization in our country. We should say it has been the Dr. Abdul Kalam's vision has been now, we can say it is almost fulfilled. What he dreamt some 10 years ago, this BrahMos is also one of his dream as a wings of fire in his one of his book, he has described, BrahMos is a good project, he was telling. And in those days when we look at it, India was nowhere in the missile technology. Then this DRDL was interested to have the integrated guided missile program, IGMP it is called, missile programs, in which, Prithvi, Astra, these are all the 1960s missiles. We had a 5-year vision that, we should realize these missiles. But it has gone beyond 5 years. So almost you might have seen that, very latest, maybe last 5 years, we have been talking about our missile programs in our country, to be precise. Otherwise, we had very old missiles like Nag, Astra, Prithvi. These missiles, the hit ratio when you look at it, it is nowhere near the target. Suppose you fix a target that it has to hit one door or a room, it will never hit. It will hit either 5 or 10 meters radius. And we used to say that is a very big achievement. But today, BrahMos, when you have seen, this was the first missile to hit pinpoint. Suppose you mark a point as X, it will go and hit that X. So that is the precision. So the hit ratio, if you see, it is very devastating. And the second is the speed and the power. Most of the missiles are at good speed only, but it is of all short range. Today, BrahMos is one which had a 290 kilometers range as at first sight, 290 kilometers. We should actually thank our Dr. Shivatanu Pillai, who was the father for BrahMos. He was the person who designed how the missile should look like and what I should do. It was a technology transfer from Russia. So Russians, when you look at it, they will not reveal you everything. See, they are making money in the process. So they give you a technology. Either you absorb or die. It is like that. So they have a fixed time frame. Within 2 years, they'll give you the technology. And they'll say, I have given you everything. Now it is your chance to do it. So what Shivatanu Pillai did is, he took the technology. Then he said, we should learn this technology. It is not just taking the technology and using it like any other country. For example, Pakistan or UAE or Dubai, if you see, they take the technology and they will just practice whatever the person has told you to do. It is as good as, the missiles are controlled by the parent, that is the Russian itself. If the Russian technology is being transferred to UAE, the Russian will control the missiles actually indirectly. Most of the programming is done by him only. This fellow will only press the button. It's only a blind spot pressing. So in case of a war, tomorrow you are waging war with Russia itself, then he can point these missiles to your own self-destruction.
Yes.
So taking all this into account, Shivatanu Pillai, what he did was, you should learn the technology and we will have our own technology. That was one step ahead, which the Russians never knew. That's why I am saying this is, when the Russian gave the technology, it was as an anti-ship missile. Means it has to hit only the hull of the ship. This missile was principally made by the Russians to hit the hull of the ship, the front hull. then the ship used to sink in the seas with the supersonic speed. This was a technology. But later on, what we did is air to air, surface to surface, then land to air, and air to any other target. From the aircraft also you can hit the thing. So all these concepts, was transformed the BrahMos missile into something else. See, you can give it to the army, you can give it to the air force, and you can also give it to the navy. And we also had the underwater launch that is called, which even Russians never dreamt.
Okay.
That is, you store it under the water, and the missile will come out of the water.
Okay.
This is the uniqueness of the Pele's design. And one disadvantage even now we feel that the missile is little bulky. That is why when you are saying, there is new generation, NG is nothing but BrahMos new generation. New generation will be little more sleeker, like how you are modifying the bikes for its high precision and all. You can also modify the missile and make it more sleek so that it is fitted to the air force, and the aircrafts can carry at least 3 BrahMos missile. Now at present only one is being taken. That is the story of the BrahMos and our contribution in the missile technology. I am just talking about my contribution. See, all the missiles in the earlier days was having only the outer frames made up of titanium or aluminum, and it was only the mechanical fastening. But when I came into the BrahMos in 2001, I was the first guy to join the BrahMos in 2001. I took up the actually administrative thing. Basically, I was on the administration side. Then later on, I switched into the chemistry side. When I went to look into the chemistry, that time no one was aware that so much of chemistry is involved. But when we started reading the documents, we came to know that there is a lot of chemistry in this. Then I told, sir, there is to one of my boss at the time, his name is LHS Rao. I still tell him, sir, there is nearly 185 chemicals which are going into our missile.
Okay.
What he said was, what an idiot you are. There is not a single chemical in any of our missile programs, and you are telling 185, there is something wrong with your mindset.
Okay.
Then I have to show him all these chemicals are there. I think when I am looking at it, there are 185 chemicals going into this, and this is something unique. It is not like any other missile story, and there is a lot of learning in this. And that exactly happened after a year or so. When the consignments started arriving, people went blank by looking so many fabrics, so many tapes, and so many epoxy chemicals, so much of asbestos fillers, and even graphite and even bitumen.
Okay.
To be precise, bitumen we thought it is a dumber we used to say that is a recycled material which can be thrown out. That material is also used in our missile technology.
Okay.
The wrong part of that is people never knew how to use them. So it took almost for me to 10 years to demonstrate him, and we had a colloquium in our DRDL. We discussed all this. So when we discussed in the colloquium that how the best practices are put into use, BrahMos stood first in terms of transfer of technology to the various DRDO projects, the technical expertise, the way you have to document the things. So that means when the people are working, anything can go wrong at any stage, and there can be fatal accidents if something goes wrong. And the DRDL has faced that. Some of them have lost their limbs during firing. They said, nothing will happen, and they'll try to insert their hand, and that time it will blast. Blast will take place because of the static charges which are in your body or which you have not taken care of. That type of accidents can happen. And it has been happening. Even BrahMos had a latest accident. I'll tell you that later.
Okay.
But it was a lesson to say that when you try to put the best practices in a framework, then automatically the product will be excellent. So all those were copied. How you have to document your workmanship. Suppose some fellow is working, he has to put the time and at what time duration is working, and he has to sign. If something goes wrong in that particular stage of operation, I can always catch him by name.
Okay.
Who has done, what went wrong, was he sleepy? So many things can be questioned. Earlier, those types of concepts were never there in the DRDOs. Some fellow XYZ will work, and at the end of the show, when something went wrong, you are not in a position to point out the mistake, who has done the mistake. So at least now we can account it, who has done the mistake. Not serious, even if it is serious also, at least we can take a corrective measure. So all these are recorded. So the best practices was brought. Then the technology of chemistry. Generally, chemistry is given a very low preference in the entire our curriculum of education also. Chemistry is something a very boring subject. People don't like to listen. But it plays a very, very important role in every aspect of your life. That demonstrated by only BrahMos. Because in BrahMos, there is a lot of connectors, epoxy molding, the glue mixing. So many issues are there. If anything goes wrong, it should go wrong with this particular glue only.
Okay.
So there is so much of chemistry to that. So the strength is being checked. And so many issues are also there, how you have to do and all.
How is it different from other missiles?
BrahMos is a closely compacted missile. Like, why I'm saying this is, generally if you take our Agni, our missile, another ballistic missile, it is a ballistic missile. Ours is a supersonic missile. So there is a difference between a ballistic and a supersonic. Okay, you may say that it carries 5,000 kilometer range and it can carry nuclear warhead. But when you look at the structure, it is very huge structure and empty inside. More or less, it is more emptiness. Even a man can walk inside that. It is like that. But when you compare my missile, that BrahMos, it is so compact. Even if you make a small mistake if you have not followed the drawing properly, that means the structure is something like S in the plane 2 or something. You have to follow that. If you don't follow it, another part will not fit into it.
Okay.
So compact. That means the structure of the missile, if you open it up, it is very, very closely packed. There is not a space left unutilized. It is like that. And that concept only comes in the BrahMos missile. Because in other missiles, you have ample space. You can have a S design or you can have a straight design, however it is. Still the missile will work in its function. But in BrahMos it is not so. You have to follow the drawing. Whatever is given to you as a structure. If something goes wrong in your drawings and workmanship, it will never get docked. And the third aspect of difficulty is, missile undergoes a lot of tests. BrahMos undergoes a lot of tests because at every stage there is a test procedure. See, to get that 99.9% accuracy, we ensure that the product is good at all stages and then it is mated. So definitely it will be 100% foolproof method.
Okay.
And if you have skipped any of this leak check or any of the cyclogram which doesn't match to your standard, then the missile will definitely fail.
So was this used in any war?
In a war situation, the advantage of this missile is, once you have checked at every stage of the missile and you have packed it, that missile lasts for 15 years untouched. That means it is ready to fire for 15 years condition. That means the missile can be launched in just 5 minutes. All it needs only 5 minutes preparation. All you have to open the PC, open the fire control system, be ready to fire. It will just articulate and it will just get off. The one press of a button, it will move out.
How many people, like it will destroy, how much area will it?
Area, if you see, depends on the warhead, what you use.
Okay.
See, I can have chemical weapon, I can have nuclear warhead, I can have the conventional TNT type of warhead. Generally, for 290 kilometers and all, it is like, hitting the hull of the ship. We have a TNT of 100 kgs or like that. That will cause a huge blast to the ship and the entire thing is damaged. Suppose it's a land attack, say. Some 500 people, army personnel are moving in the China border. They are coming towards us. Earlier, if you see in the 1961 war or 71, our people also will be moving in thousand numbers and that fellow will be coming in thousands. Now you need not move at all. By press of a button, it will finish it off.
What are the latest enhancements to the BrahMos?
Latest enhancements in BrahMos is, earlier our missiles were going for 290 kilometers. But now it will go up to 800 kilometers. That is one enhancement. Second is, it is purely on the fuel. See, it is a ramjet principle. That means, less cost of the fuel. It flies, this missile flies with the liquid kerosene or T6 fuel we call. It is called a thermostable fuel, like, what the aeroplanes are holding. Jet A, that type of fuel. And with that fuel of some 460 kgs we are fueling in the present missile. With the same 460 kgs, we are going for a longer distance, 800 kilometers. That means it can hit the interior part of China. Suppose if I position at Sikkim or Arunachal Pradesh, definitely it will hit Beijing. And the damage is so extensive. Why the China is today afraid of us is because of this BrahMos missile only. And there is no other missile which can act. And second point of our proudness of this missile is, we have already positioned around 400 missiles in our kitty. So the whole world, is watching. And we, as a peaceful loving country, we will never use it as a first use. But if threatened, it will not be the story of 1961, that where the Chinese have entered Indian territory. That can never happen. We can proudly say that, no, this missile will protect us. At least till as long as the missile is there, all Indians are safe. We can say that. And this hitting ratio, if you see, it is very, very pinpoint. And there is no time to react to attack the missile. See, counter-attack of the missile is not at all possible in the present scenario, because this goes in a zigzag way. And generally the missile path is elliptical, so that you can position and you can hit back. If it is an elliptical pattern, like a ballistic missile, it takes that rainbow shape, So you can position and you can say the attack is coming from there and you can counter-attack in the mid-air and collide. But BrahMos is not like that. It can go any path. It can take any path, S-type or C-type or any way. It can chase and kill also. And that is the specialty of this missile.
So other countries cannot develop such a missile?
No, India is one of the few countries. Now we can say we are the fourth country to have the supersonic missile. And rather it is our own, to be precise. See, there are countries which are holding the supersonic missile of other countries. But when you are using it, you are still dependent on the country which has produced this. But in our case, it is not so. It is our own. We can say, although it is a Russian missile, but it is our own. Our onboard control system or electronics, everything is ours. Nothing is Russian. So we have a good faith that it will perform much better than even the Russian missile.
How are the BrahMos tests conducted?
We have done number of tests, and tests is a source of learning. So almost, I think we have finished 75 flight trials. And out of the 75, we can say roughly 10 or 15 has failed. Failed means it is a learning exercise. I will tell you, it is not failure. it is a learning exercise for the DRDO scientists. Why I am saying this is, we try to incorporate new features into it, and it can malfunction when it is on the flight path. We wanted the supersonic missile to sharply turn, so we called the S shape it should take. Why S is the waypoints. We told it this is a waypoint, it should take a turn, drastic turn. At a supersonic speed, you cannot expect the missile to turn so sharply. So we wanted that S type of this one, and it was taking a C type. Then we told there is some wrong in our software. We corrected the software. Then when the second trial went, it was S. But there is a joke again in this. In Russian, the letter C is called S.
Okay. That's why there was.
So we used to say, see, it has achieved. Principally, it has achieved the objective. We wanted S, but it has done the C. But as per Russian C, it is S. So the missile has passed, we used to say. But that was only a joke. But this was all corrected, and there is a deep mountain dive. That means the missile has to rise to the mountain and immediately dive. That is a V. So it is a supersonic missile at that speed, taking a V type of dive. It is not possible. So we have done that also. And Russians were stunned. They realized, the technology what we gave them, they have put it into a multi-fold. And now we are in the multi-platform mode. See, I can launch this missile from a silos. Silos means in the earth. You can just close it to the basement level, and it will just get off. Because all these missiles are canisterized. That is the advantage of this missile. You can store wherever you want. Even into the oil field in IOCL like that, If you want to protect your oil field, you can mount it on the pillar, one of the pillar, and leave it. So when there is a threat, you have to only press the button, it will take off automatically. Fit and forget. And all these missiles, once you have fitted and tested everything, you need not be after it. 15 years it will function. After that only you have to just take it out once and do the health checkup. That is called, we are giving like a life extension after 15 years. Because now BrahMos, I'll tell you, what we did 20 years back, all those missiles are coming for re-checkup. It is like that. So we check the missile. If it is all right in all aspects of electronics and other things, we just give a random extension of another 5 years.
Now, you have mentioned that we can place the BrahMos anywhere, and we can use it at any point of time. Can someone detect?
Very difficult to detect.
Very
difficult. Why? Because a matte finish, suppose the missile is in a very ugly shape and that it is canisterized. So even from satellite, if you want to tamper it, circuit and all, it is not so easy. That's why I am telling again, the chemistry comes into being. There is a warhead in the middle of the missiles. We call it as in some middle portion. I don't want to say the exact location, but I'm just telling you it is in the middle portion, say. Suppose the enemy has come to know that there is a warhead there. And through satellite I can, sending the infrared signal, I can blast this. Generally, like in James Bond films and all, you might be seeing from the satellite the ray will come and heat that area and there will be a big blast. That can happen, but in my missile it cannot happen. Why? Because that is the outer cover. There is an outer cover for that warhead. That is called a WACME. WACME is a rubber sheet type of a thing. But it's such a rubber sheet that it will not allow any infrared signals to penetrate. So that signals cannot enter your warhead zone. So suppose it is flying in the air and through satellite I can try to tamper it. You cannot do anything. And these are some latest technologies. Like that, there is a lot of things. There is for the missile itself, the air intake, how much of air it is taking, because it's an air breathing engine. So air is a must. So the disadvantages of this missile also tell you, it cannot go beyond some 12 kilometers from the above thing. So it will be a low flying. At the same time, air is required for its movement.
Okay.
So initially it is driven by a solid propellant that is called booster. Afterwards it is on the ramjet, the air what it is getting. So that is why it is called ramming. The air will be ramming at a high speed.
Okay.
And the fuel will be burning. That is by liquid kerosene. So it gets carried with the air only.
Not with the calculation, but the air pulls the.
Air will be entering from the front side, and that will act like a force to push the missile more fast.
Okay.
So it will be in that concept. And that will get ignited only if the missile is having that 3 Mach. It achieves that 3 Mach speed.
Okay.
That will be given by the booster. That is why when you see the missile slowly lifts off and then goes in a huge speed, then the booster detach itself out. Then it is purely on the liquid fuel.
Okay.
This is the uniqueness of this missile. There are so many missiles like this. There are other missiles only on solid propellant. That is also there. Like, if you see the Korea and all, no? They have the missiles purely made of solid propellant only. So it goes at a huge speed. You can have hydrogen based fuel also.
Okay.
But ours is, a missile which is consuming less energy. That is means it's like kerosene. Based on kerosene, our missile is working means you can imagine how much of destruction it can do. And plus, this fuel itself will add like more fire in the around. Once the blast takes place in the target area, the fuel spillage, whatever the excess fuel is there, that will also get spilled and it will catch fire. So it is causing huge damage to the territorial area. So that way, this missile is unique by itself.
Have there been any flight trials recently?
Recently, we have done today. Today it has happened. That is the air version missile. This is, as a developmental part. That is, the air version is slightly different from the general land version and silos version. The air version is, there is a launcher which is fitted to the aircraft.
Okay.
Because this is a supersonic missile, suppose if the launcher and the missile is there and if the launcher doesn't release that mechanism and this missile is armed, it will take even the aircraft at a supersonic speed.
Okay. Okay.
That is the disadvantage of that.
Okay.
So it has to get detached and it will be left, it will fall to certain height down. The aircraft will go in a different direction and then only the missile will get ignited. That means there is a time lapse of some 5 seconds so that the missile really comes down.
Okay.
Because there is a threat to the aircraft. The aircraft runs away from, once it has dropped the missile, the aircraft has to go in the opposite direction.
Yes.
To
Maybe
go.
just like Astra.
Yes.
Is it the same or?
It is, Astra is similar, but Astra is a sleek one, only 25 kilometer, maximum range is 25. Whereas this missile will go for 800 kilometers. Today what we have tested is an 800 kilometer range, whether it is meeting its path successfully.
So was the test successful?
So it was very huge success is what. Okay. Then what we are planning, I am telling you, future, this missile, all the missiles will be converted into 800 kilometer range, whether it is Navy, Army or Air Force. All of us will have the same configuration of 800 kilometers. And that will be a real threat to the world in case of misadventure.
Can you give an advice to the youngsters related to DRDO and its opportunities?
As I feel DRDO is a good place to learn. And the freedom of learning is also highly encouraging. Our Dr. G. Satish Reddy, he has brought in a lot of reformations in the DRDO for the youngsters especially, who have done aeronautical engineering, who have done on missile technology. Now the Amity is one of the universities. They have a tie-up for this missile technology and its applications. There is a course like that, so that people are trained to how to focus your energy on warhead and other things. That means, your mind is finely tuned to invent methods of destruction. Earlier it was not so. Earlier, a layman is brought in and he is trained to say that you have to do this way, that way. Now it is not like that. It's a focused thing that I should cause so much of damage in the limited this one. That type of technologies have come. And when you look at the DRDO, DRDO is encouraging people. There is a lot of young clusters club and all where they debate and they have every week, a review as what they have done. Now there is more accountability which is coming into being. Earlier it was a paradise to work. Now it is not a paradise. It is like, the taskmaster is there. There is a person who will be asking you with a whip, what is the progress? So that type of concepts have come. So I think for youngsters, it is a good field to venture into. They can learn a lot of things. Technology wise, they are also exposed to all the countries like Israel. Now you have seen the drones which are coming like swarm of
Yes.
flies and all. This type of technologies are being encouraged in DRDO also.
Okay.
And DRDO also is bringing in a lot of changes also in their setup, the way of testing,
Okay.
and all that. There is tremendous changes. It is no longer, of the 1960s. Now we are into the electronic age. And RCA, if you see, the RCA is in electronics, and they are bringing a lot of, anti-jamming and anti-radiation missiles also. That is a real boost, like Rudram and others, Shakti, Mission Shakti. These are all, you can, some 125 square kilometers, you can jam the signals. Completely signals will not work, and you can wage a war. It is electronic warfare. These are all, people now, they are learning all how to do it practically. Earlier there was no practicality, but now the facilities, incorporates you to do such things. Like, ISRO also, that orbiting. We devised a new method of orbiting and land on the moon without extra fuel.
Yes.
That type of concepts are all coming.
Okay. So all the latest technology.
Latest technologies. These are all the latest technologies, and it comes only by practice. That means you are more focused in that area. Specialization. Like, for me, chemistry is everything. So anything I talk about chemistry from my side. Similarly, electronics fellow will be looking at the electronics, how can minimize that. So now the INS is such a big size. Now I have brought it to such a small size. So I can put two INSs.
Okay.
Navigational systems. So, it gives a more clarity. The kill ratio, that means, the target is fixed at this point. I can, pinpoint accuracy. See, in the same place, within seconds I should hit. And the damage should be square kilometer of area, how much it will damage is caused, how much, the radiations will be felt, how much of energy will be dispersing. All that can be calculated nowadays.
Okay.
That type of facilities we are also having. Now
So all these calculations you have it in missile.
No, it is not in the missile. The amount of warhead what I give, suppose I have fixed with some 10 kgs of TNT. Generally, the Naxalites also will have TNT. I am just telling you. 10 kg of TNT, he will say the damage is caused killing only one person. But ours is not that way. 10 kg, how much area it will damage and how many people will die. That we will have to calculate.
Okay.
So that calculation, it is kept secret, and that will be fed. And when we are putting that type of ammunition, we know that this will be the amount of damage it will take place.
Okay.
So as a safety also, it is a safety calculation. Once you give those data to the team, they'll say, suppose you are manufacturing a missile, then they'll say, in a crowded area, you should not have more than one missile.
Okay.
That type of restrictions will come. That is as a safety point of view to help the mankind, because Hyderabad is surrounded by a lot of cities. Now again, a lot of people are there. So there is a restriction on the integration of the missile. So all these missiles, if you are doing on ammunition basis and all, no, it will be restricted and it will be transferred to some other location where there is no mankind. So in that place it will be integrated again. It is all like that. So that precautions we are taking.
Thank you so much for sharing the information regarding DRDO and BrahMos. It was very nice to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the Science Hub, and this should be the foundation for learning. Why I am saying is, arms race is something, to make the country proud, we have to work really hard in these fields. We are very good in peacemaking, but we are not very hard, cutthroat in cutting edge technologies. So this missile technologies will prove to the world that we are a superpower. All the best for the new Science Hub.